Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin in New Brunswick, where officials are rethinking a plan to give police more powers after 2 Indigenous people were shot and killed by police in 8 days. The province had been considering a controversial new plan to give police new powers to enforce pandemic restrictions. It would have allowed officers to stop people and ask for documentation without reason. Premier Blaine Higgs backed off that idea today. He says in light of the police shootings, it's more important to focus on ending systemic racism.
I think Friday night changed things for a lot of people, and including myself. I think it's important now to focus on the healing process and certainly what needs to take place in order to ensure that we can identify some of the chronic concerns maybe that have lasted for generations.
It was on Friday night that a 48-year-old Mi'kmaq man named Rodney Levi was shot and killed by an RCMP officer at a home near Miramichi. 8 days before that, also in New Brunswick, a 26-year-old Indigenous woman was shot and killed at her home after police were called to do a wellness check. As Ross Lord reports, in both cases, family and friends are demanding answers and justice.
On New Brunswick's Metapanagua First Nation, Rodney Levi was known as troubled, but community leaders say he did not deserve to die.
A lot of our people are getting hurt and or killed at the hands of police. And police are there to protect and serve, not assault and kill. Got along well with the chief there. He got along with the pastor as well, and that's all we know. He had some mental health issues. There was a mental health crisis, and now he's dead.
The RCMP says members responded to a report of an unwanted person in a home. But a clergyman, Reverend Brodie McLeod, says Rodney Levi was a welcomed guest at our home. He adds Levi shared a meal with the Reverend and his family on Friday evening. Mi'kmaq Chief Bill Ward suggests after the barbecue, Levi had a mental breakdown. An RCMP statement says a man armed with knives charged at officers that a stun gun was used unsuccessfully. Then an officer fired a shot that proved to be fatal. The weekend tragedy coincided with healing walks paying tribute to Chantel Moore. On June 4th, Moore was shot and killed by city police in Edmundston, New Brunswick, after officers came to her apartment to conduct a wellness check. Moore's family wants a public inquiry instead of the more limited coroner's inquest that's been ordered. New Brunswick has no special investigation unit for police shootings. It's called in a unit from Quebec to examine both deaths, a move this analyst says further undermines the prospect of a thorough review.
Somebody who's coming to, from outside the jurisdiction, doesn't know the geography, doesn't know the people or the context in which the killing took place.
Perry Bellegarde, Assembly of First Nations National Chief, says such reviews need to include more civilians, including Indigenous leaders.
The most important thing now is to focus our energies and our efforts on fixing the system. What can we do now to prevent, the hurtful and the drastic takedowns, excessive use of force in the future?
The RCMP says investigators from Quebec have arrived in New Brunswick to begin their investigation. Ross Lord, Global News.